Every decade has its icons, but the 1960s had motorcycles that looked like art and moved like missiles. Whether built in Britain, Japan, Germany, or Italy, these were bikes that made riders feel alive. These are the 18 fastest motorcycles of the 1960s, which didn't just raise the bar, they broke it. Number 18, 1967 AJS 7R Boy Racer. In an era obsessed with speed, few motorcycles captured the spirit of pure racing like the AJS 7R, also known as the Boy Racer. This wasn't a street bike dressed in racing colors. It was a race bike, built to win and engineered with one purpose: go fast or go home. Born from the legendary British firm AJS, the 7R carved out a name for itself not with brute force, but with a razor-sharp focus on performance, handling, and balance. At the heart of the Boy Racer sat a single-cylinder engine pumping out 350 cubic centimeters. That may not sound like much today, but in the early 1960s, this engine delivered more than just numbers. It delivered results. With a lightweight construction and a streamlined frame, the bike became a regular threat on the track, earning a reputation for being deceptively quick in the hands of a skilled rider. Top speed was a jaw-dropping 115 miles per hour. That was more than enough to embarrass bigger, bulkier bikes of the era. But it wasn't just about raw velocity. The AJS was a scalpel in a world full of sledgehammers. Its chassis, made of Reynolds tubing, gave it unmatched agility in corners, and its low-slung stance meant minimal drag down the straights. Horsepower figures hovered around 40 horsepower, but what made it lethal was how efficiently that power was delivered. Combined with a dry weight of just under 280 pounds, the bike was a featherweight with a punch. Torque came in around 28 pound-feet, enough to launch it with authority off the line and power through tight exits. The AJS 7R didn't need gimmicks or brute force. It just needed a racetrack, an open throttle, and a rider crazy enough to keep it pinned. Number 17, 1968, Moto Guzzi V7. Some motorcycles don't just go fast, they do it with undeniable character. The Moto Guzzi V7, first introduced in the late 1960s, didn't scream for attention. It didn't need to. One twist of the throttle, and it made its case with a deep mechanical growl and a surge of unmistakable Italian torque. Originally designed for the Italian police and military, the V7 was never just a service machine. It was a sleeper, stoic on the surface, explosive underneath. Its engine was a game-changer for the time. The longitudinal V-twin layout was unlike anything else on the road. A forward-thinking configuration that gave the bike a low center of gravity and exceptional stability. That engine displaced 703 cubic centimeters and was cooled by air alone, delivering smooth and steady power through every gear. Top speed landed right around 110 miles per hour, a number that turned heads in an era where most touring bikes tapped out far earlier. The V7 didn't just arrive with flair, it proved it belonged in the conversation of serious performance machines. Power output came in at approximately 45 horsepower, but numbers alone didn't tell the full story. What made the V7 special was the delivery. It was confident and composed, never frantic. The shaft drive helped keep things smooth, and its 5-speed gearbox shifted like it had been dipped in velvet. Torque sat just shy of 40 pound-feet, which was plenty to push the Guzzi forward with urgency, especially in mid-range cruising. Riders loved its long-legged nature, and the way it pulled through winding roads without breaking a sweat. The Moto Guzzi V7 wasn't flashy or aggressive. It was dignified, deliberate, and dangerously fast when the road opened up. Number 16, 1962, BMW R69S. Not every fast motorcycle is wild and unhinged. Some, like the BMW R69S, move with quiet confidence and German precision. Released at the start of the 1960s, this was not a bike that roared for attention. It whispered performance, and it delivered with unwavering reliability. For riders who wanted speed without the drama, the R69S was in a league of its own. Its engine was a flat twin masterpiece, mounted low and out wide for balance and airflow. This air-cooled boxer layout was a signature BMW trait and gave the bike a smooth, almost vibration-free ride. The motor produced 594 cubic centimeters of displacement and made the most of every one of them. especially when cruising long distances at high speeds. Top speed peaked at around 110 miles per hour, which may not sound outrageous now, but at the time, it placed the R69S among the fastest and most refined machines on the road. And it did it all without fuss or flash. Horsepower was rated at 42 horsepower, which was paired with a 4-speed gearbox and shaft final drive. Everything about the drivetrain felt solid and overbuilt, a hallmark of BMW's engineering approach. It wasn't designed to thrill in short bursts. It was built to run hard day after day. Torque output hovered near 38 pound-feet, and thanks to the bike's steady power band, it came in predictably and confidently. Whether climbing mountain roads or stretching out on the Autobahn, the R69S had composure in every gear. The BMW R69S proved that speed could be elegant. It was refined, fast, and engineered with a level of detail few could match in its era. Number 15, 1969, Yamaha XS1. When Yamaha rolled out the XS1 in the final months of the 1960s, it wasn't just chasing the British, it was challenging them on their own turf. This was Japan's bold declaration that it could build big twins with just as much muscle, but more refinement. And the result was a motorcycle that didn't just keep up, it quietly passed the pack. The XS1 was powered by a parallel twin engine that produced 653 cubic centimeters of displacement. It was air-cooled, had a 4-stroke layout, and was clearly inspired by British designs, yet executed with unmistakable Japanese precision. The engine ran smoother, started easier, and leaked far less oil than anything coming out of England at the time. With a top speed of 115 miles per hour, the XS1 was more than just competitive, it was fast. The kind of fast that caught people off guard, especially considering how understated it looked. Riders who expected a mellow cruiser were met with a machine that pulled hard and didn't back down. Power delivery came from 53 horsepower, and Yamaha did a brilliant job balancing that output with comfort and control. It came equipped with a 5-speed transmission, something still relatively new for the time, and that extra gear made a real difference on long rides. Torque figures sat around 44 pound-feet, and they came in strong through the mid-range. The throttle response was crisp, the clutch was light, and the whole setup just worked. It was a bike that rewarded smooth riding, but had no trouble digging deep when asked. The Yamaha XS1 didn't shout or show off. It just delivered. Fast, dependable, and far ahead of what most expected from a Japanese twin in the 1960s. Number 14, 1968 Suzuki T500 Titan. Sometimes a motorcycle doesn't need to be flashy to be fast. The Suzuki T500 Titan was one of those bikes. Modest in appearance, but ruthless when the throttle was wide open. Launched in the late 1960s, it was Suzuki's first big-bore street machine. And it didn't take long for riders to realize that this 2-stroke twin was something special. At the core of the Titan was a 2-stroke parallel twin engine that displaced 492 cubic centimeters. It was simple, efficient, and brutally effective. While its rivals relied on complexity or size, the T500 proved that lightweight engineering and clean power delivery could be just as thrilling. Top speed came in at around 115 miles per hour, which was astonishing for a bike that looked more commuter than competitor. Riders who underestimated it learned quickly that it could hold its own against much larger machines and often leave them behind at the lights. Horsepower was rated between 47 and 50 horsepower, depending on tuning and year. And for a 2-stroke, that power came on fast and full, especially through the middle of the rev range. The 5-speed gearbox was smooth and direct, letting riders stay in the power band with minimal effort. Torque output hovered near 38 pound-feet, which made the Titan surprisingly responsive in real-world riding. It had more than enough low-end grunt for city traffic and enough top-end rush to make highway riding a thrill. The Suzuki T500 Titan was a quiet revolution. It didn't need race wins or bold paint schemes to earn respect. All it needed was a clear road, a willing rider, and the chance to prove that small displacement didn't mean slow. Number 13, 1964, Norton Atlas Scrambler. There was nothing quiet or reserved about the Norton Atlas. It didn't just roll onto the road, it stormed in with presence, power, and that unmistakable British attitude. Introduced in the early 1960s, the Atlas was Norton's answer to the growing demand for bigger, faster, and meaner motorcycles, and it answered with a roar. Underneath its muscular silhouette lived a vertical twin engine that delivered 750 cubic centimeters of raw, air-cooled displacement. This engine was no gentle giant. It was torquey, loud, and built to go fast in a straight line. While some bikes were tuned for refinement, the Atlas leaned into its aggression. Top speed pushed just over 110 miles per hour, a figure that placed it firmly among the top-tier performance machines of its time. It wasn't subtle about it either. The exhaust note barked through chrome pipes and let the world know exactly what it was capable of. Power output hovered around 50 horsepower, and it came in hard once you cracked open the throttle. Riders were treated to a rush of acceleration that was as addictive as it was commanding. The 4-speed gearbox was basic but solid, and once in top gear, the Atlas felt eager to run. Torque sat at approximately 44 pound-feet, delivered with a punch that made it feel alive in every gear. It excelled at wide-open road riding, where its long wheelbase and stiff frame gave it surprising stability at high speeds. The Norton Atlas wasn't built for compromise. It was big, bold, and demanding, and that's exactly why riders loved it. In a decade full of contenders, the Atlas stood out as a pure expression of British horsepower and rebellion. Number 12, 1966, Velocette Venom Thruxton. Every once in a while, a motorcycle comes along that feels like it was built to dominate the track and look good doing it. The Velocette Venom Thruxton was exactly that kind of machine. Developed in the mid-1960s as a race-ready version of the already respected Venom, this bike didn't pretend to be a casual cruiser. It was unapologetically fast and fine-tuned for competition. Powering the Thruxton was a single-cylinder, air-cooled engine that displaced 500 cubic centimeters. It might have been a thumper, but it punched far above its weight. With a high-lift camshaft and a specially modified cylinder head, it delivered serious performance at high RPMs. This wasn't just a street bike with attitude, it was a thoroughbred racer with a license plate. Top speed for the Thruxton touched 115 miles per hour, and it could hold that pace without complaint. Built on a lightweight frame and paired with a close-ratio gearbox, the bike had the ability to stay in its power band and eat up the miles with precision and control. Horsepower came in at approximately 41 horsepower, which might not sound extreme, but when matched with its slender profile and featherweight chassis, it made the Thruxton blisteringly quick in the right hands. Torque output was steady at around 32 pound-feet, delivered smoothly across the rev range. The handling was sharp, the riding position aggressive, and the entire machine felt like it was built to chase lap times. The Velocette Venom Thruxton was never mass-produced in huge numbers, and that only adds to its legend. It was a racer's bike, a purist's machine, and one of the fastest British singles to ever hit the open road. If you could take one of these for a spin today, which would it be? Tell us in the comments, hit like if you enjoyed the ride, and subscribe for more stories from the golden age of speed. Number 11, 1967, BSA Lightning 650. If there was ever a motorcycle built to chase the American dream at full throttle, it was the BSA 650 Lightning. Born in Birmingham but bred for the open highways of the United States, this bike was a bold blend of British engineering and transatlantic ambition. It looked aggressive, sounded fierce, and had just enough refinement to keep things civilized, barely. At its core sat a parallel twin engine with 650 cubic centimeters of displacement. It was air-cooled, pushrod-driven, and tuned to be one of BSA's most powerful road-going motorcycles of the time. The Lightning wasn't made for polite Sunday rides. It was built to get noticed and get moving. Top speed figures landed around 112 miles per hour, and that was no empty boast. With a strong pull through the mid-range and a smooth, linear power curve, the Lightning had no trouble keeping up with the best of its era on a straight stretch. Power came in at approximately 52 horsepower, and the bike's twin carburetors ensured throttle response was crisp and lively. Riders found themselves rewarded with quick acceleration and a deep, throaty exhaust note that turned heads long before the bike was in view. Torque figures hovered close to 45 pound-feet, giving it the kind of off-the-line punch that made it a favorite at stoplights and quarter-mile strips. Handling was predictable, the brakes were decent for the day, and its twin-shock rear suspension provided a firm but manageable ride. The BSA 650 Lightning wasn't just fast, it had swagger. With its distinctive twin headlights and chrome flourishes, it stood out in a crowd. It was a machine that didn't ask for attention but demanded it, one twist of the throttle at a time. Number 10, 1969, Harley-Davidson XLC-H Sportster. Some motorcycles feel like they were built in a boardroom. The Harley-Davidson XLCH Sportster was not one of them. This bike was born in the back of a garage, forged in chrome and attitude, and aimed squarely at the kind of rider who didn't care for rules. Released in the late 1950s but roaring into its prime during the 1960s, the XLCH was Harley's high-performance answer to the rising threat from British and Japanese rivals. Its engine was a rugged V-twin with 883 cubic centimeters of displacement, known for its brute strength and signature lope at idle. The Ironhead motor, as it was famously nicknamed, gave the bike its muscle and its unmistakable soul. Riders loved it because it didn't just make power, it made noise, heat, and memories. Top speed was clocked around 115 miles per hour, putting it squarely in the same league as the fastest imports of the decade. But unlike its smoother European cousins, the Sportster didn't deliver that speed gently. It growled, bucked, and powered its way forward like a wild horse. Horsepower landed in the ballpark of 55 horsepower, though that number varied slightly by year and setup. What mattered more was how it felt raw, mechanical, and immediate. It had a 4-speed transmission and a kickstarter that demanded respect. Torque output was solid, hovering near 50 pound-feet, which gave the bike a deep pull through the revs. It was quick off the line and thrilling at highway speeds, especially for riders with a taste for straight-line aggression. The Harley-Davidson XLCH Sportster was never about refinement. It was loud, fast, and unapologetically American, a true street brawler that made no excuses and needed none. Number 9, 1967, Royal Enfield Interceptor Mark 1A. Not every motorcycle needs to be refined to be respected. The Royal Enfield Interceptor. Mark 1A was rough around the edges, loud in all the right ways, and unapologetically fast. Designed with the American market in mind, it was built to take on big roads, big distances, and even bigger competition. It wasn't trying to be subtle, it was trying to win. At the center of the Interceptor sat a vertical twin engine, displacing 736 cubic centimeters. It was one of the largest and most powerful motors Enfield had ever produced at the time. With alloy barrels, forged internals, and a strong crankshaft, it was engineered to take abuse and still perform. Top speed edged close to 117 miles per hour, a figure that earned it a place in the growing club of serious performance bikes. It didn't just inch toward that number, it surged, thanks to a healthy power band and strong throttle response. Horsepower figures were reported at 50 horsepower, which gave it plenty of muscle in a straight line. The 4-speed gearbox was sturdy, and though not the smoothest shifter in its class, it got the job done without complaint. Torque came in strong, hovering near 48 pound-feet, making it one of the torquier twins of its day. This gave the Interceptor solid pull from low revs and made passing maneuvers feel effortless. The Royal Enfield Interceptor, Mark 1A, may not have had the polish of its British peers, but it had something just as valuable: the attitude. It was fast, unfiltered, and built for riders who wanted less conversation and more throttle. On the open road, it never had to prove itself twice. Number 8, 1969, BSA Rocket 3. By the end of the 1960s, the motorcycle world was changing fast, and the BSA Rocket 3 was Britain's thunderous reply. It didn't whisper innovation, it shouted it. Built as a joint effort between BSA and Triumph to take on the Japanese invasion, the Rocket 3 marked a serious leap forward in performance, engineering, and sound. Powering the Rocket 3 was a distinctive 3-cylinder engine that produced 740 cubic centimeters of displacement. This air-cooled inline triple gave the bike a unique growl, a wider power band, and a level of refinement that BSA twins simply couldn't match. It was bold, fast, and noticeably smoother than its parallel twin cousins. Top speed hovered around 125 miles per hour, which made it one of the quickest motorcycles coming out of the UK at the time. It wasn't just quick for its size, it was quick, period. Riders who twisted the throttle found themselves pushed into their seats with urgency and drama. The engine output was impressive, delivering between 58 and 60 horsepower, depending on the tuning. That power came on smoothly but with authority, making the Rocket 3 equally at home blasting down straight highways or carving through wide bends. Torque figures climbed up to about 46 pound-feet, offering a strong mid-range punch that kept the bike feeling responsive in real-world conditions. The bike's oil-in-frame design and balanced layout gave it a planted, confident feel at high speeds. The BSA Rocket 3 was more than just an answer to Japanese 4-cylinders. It was a last stand for British power and pride. It didn't save the company, but it left behind a legacy of speed, style, and 3-cylinder brilliance that riders still admire today. Number 7, 1967, Triumph Bonneville, T120. Some motorcycles become fast, others become timeless. The Triumph T120. Bonneville somehow managed to be both. By the time the 1960s were in full swing, the Bonneville had already established itself as a symbol of British cool and high performance. But it was the 1967 version that truly embodied the model's golden era. Its parallel twin engine was the heart of its charm, delivering 650 cubic centimeters of displacement with that unmistakable Triumph sound. Air-cooled and fed by twin-amal carburetors, the motor was tuned for performance but didn't sacrifice smoothness. It was the kind of engine that felt alive, pulsing with energy from the first kickstart. Top speed came in at around 120 miles per hour, which made the Bonneville one of the quickest street bikes of its time. That speed wasn't just good on paper, it was real, accessible, and thrilling. Riders loved the way the bike built speed with purpose, never feeling strained or out of control. Horsepower figures landed at approximately 46 horsepower, which was more than enough to move its lightweight frame with serious authority. Paired with a 4-speed transmission, the T120 delivered its power with a balance of urgency and control. Torque output came in at nearly 43 pound-feet, giving the Bonneville excellent roll-on acceleration. Whether darting through traffic or opening up on long stretches, it responded instantly to a confident hand. The Triumph T120. Bonneville was not just a fast motorcycle, it was an icon. It mixed power, style, and grace in equal measure. Decades later, it remains one of the most celebrated British bikes ever made, and for good reason. It made speed feel like poetry. Number 6, 1967, Norton Commando. The moment the Norton Commando hit showroom floors in the late 1960s, it changed everything. This wasn't just another British twin, it was a bold evolution. It looked sharper, felt smoother, and most importantly, it was fast. Norton didn't just want to keep up with the competition, they wanted to leave it behind. Sitting at the core of the Commando was a parallel twin engine, delivering 745 cubic centimeters of displacement. It shared DNA with earlier Norton engines, but came reimagined with one of the most important innovations of the decade, the isoelastic frame system. This clever design isolated engine vibration from the rider, giving the Commando a remarkably smooth feel, even at high speeds. Top speed reached a thrilling 120 miles per hour, and it did so without shaking itself to pieces. Riders immediately noticed how well the bike handled long straights and sweeping curves, combining high-speed stability with real-world rideability. Horsepower was rated at 60 horsepower, giving it a significant edge over most of its rivals. The power delivery was strong and linear, making it a favorite for riders who wanted fast performance without sudden surges or awkward flat spots. Torque came in around 55 pound-feet, which helped the Commando pull hard through the rev range. It felt strong off the line, and even stronger as the needle climbed. The Norton Commando wasn't just fast, it was refined in a way few bikes of its time were. It proved that British engineering could still innovate, adapt, and win over riders in an increasingly competitive market. For many, it was the last great British superbike, and it earned that title with every mile. Number 5, 1966, Matchless G50. There are motorcycles that go fast, and then there are motorcycles that were born for the racetrack. The Matchless G50 belonged firmly in the second category. Originally developed for competition, it never pretended to be a street machine. This was a purpose-built weapon. It was lean, loud, and obsessed with speed. At the heart of the G50 was a single-cylinder engine delivering 500 cubic centimeters of displacement. It was an air-cooled overhead cam motor, built with magnesium cases and lightweight components. Everything about it was engineered with one thing in mind: maximum performance with minimum weight. Top speed reached up to 135 miles per hour, an astonishing figure for a single-cylinder motorcycle in the 1960s. It didn't just flirt with speed, it devoured it. In the hands of skilled racers, it tore through circuits like the Isle of Man TT, leaving behind a trail of podium finishes and blown minds. Horsepower peaked at 52 horsepower, a staggering number considering how compact and minimal the bike was. That kind of output in such a lightweight chassis made the G50 incredibly agile, quick to accelerate, and deadly in the corners. Torque came in around 36 pound-feet, but more importantly, it delivered that torque exactly where racers needed it, right in the thick of the power band. The result was explosive drive out of turns and a motor that begged to be pushed to its limits. The Matchless G50 was not built for comfort or commuting. It was built to chase victory laps. It remains a shining example of British racing dominance during the golden era of motorcycles, a machine that proved speed didn't always require size, just precision and purpose. Number 4, 1966 Honda RC166. Every so often, a machine comes along that feels like it belongs to a different planet entirely. The Honda RC166, unleashed in the mid-1960s, wasn't just ahead of its time. It made everything else look obsolete. While most manufacturers were perfecting twins and triples, Honda went full alien and built a 6-cylinder masterpiece that rewrote what was possible in motorcycle racing. Its engine was a jewel of engineering, delivering 250 cubic centimeters of displacement across 6 cylinders. Yes, 6. Each one tiny, precise, and perfectly balanced. Revving to a mind-bending 18,000 revolutions per minute, this power plant didn't growl or thump. It screamed like a jet engine trapped in a motorcycle frame. Top speed exceeded 150 miles per hour, a number that left seasoned racers and rival engineers speechless. It wasn't just the number that shocked. It was how smoothly and effortlessly the RC166 reached it. The acceleration was linear, endless, and almost surreal. Horsepower figures touched 60 horsepower, an extraordinary output for a quarter-liter bike. The engine was so compact and intricate that it seemed more like watchmaking than motorcycle building. It came with a 7-speed transmission, allowing the rider to keep the motor right in its ultra-narrow power band. Torque was modest, hovering near 24 pound-feet, but that didn't matter. The real magic was in how quickly those revs climbed, how surgically the bike handled, and how unstoppable it was in the hands of legends like Mike Halewood. The Honda RC166 didn't just win races, it exceeded expectations. It proved that a motorcycle didn't need size to be fast. All it needed was imagination, engineering brilliance, and the will to dominate. Number 3, 1969 Honda CB 7504. Some motorcycles mark the end of an era. However, the Honda CB 750, introduced in 1969, marked the beginning of a new one. It didn't just break the rules, it rewrote the entire playbook. Affordable, powerful, and packed with features that were unheard of in its price range. The CB 750 wasn't just fast, it was revolutionary. Underneath its clean, purposeful design was an inline 4-cylinder engine displacing 736 cubic centimeters. This air-cooled overhead cam motor brought a level of smoothness and refinement that British and American bikes simply couldn't match at the time. It was a wake-up call to the entire industry. Top speed hit an impressive 125 miles per hour, and it got there with shocking composure. The bike didn't wobble, rattle, or complain. It just delivered, time and time again. For riders used to the quirks of older machines, the CB 750 felt like the future. Horsepower came in at a groundbreaking 67 horsepower, and with a 5-speed transmission and electric starter, it was both quick and easy to live with. The power came on smoothly and built rapidly, making it equally capable in city traffic or wide-open highways. Torque output landed around 44 pound-feet, giving the CB strong mid-range pull and impressive flexibility in every gear. It could cruise comfortably, then surge forward the moment you asked for more. The Honda CB 750 wasn't just one of the fastest bikes of the 60s. It was the bike that changed everything. It set new standards for performance, reliability, and accessibility, and in doing so, kicked off the superbike era. Few machines have ever made a bigger impact. Number 2, 1969 Kawasaki H1500 Mach 3. When Kawasaki unleashed the Mach 3 H1, it didn't just enter the performance game, it threw a grenade into it. This 2-stroke triple was wild, loud, and blisteringly fast, earning a reputation that bordered on mythical. Introduced in 1969, the H1 didn't care about refinement or subtlety. It was built for speed, and it made sure everyone knew it. The engine was a high-strung 2-stroke triple, delivering 498 cubic centimeters of displacement. It was compact, lightweight, and unbelievably aggressive. Kawasaki knew exactly what they were doing when they paired this engine with a minimalist chassis. The result was explosive acceleration in a straight line and a bike that required both bravery and skill. Top speed reached 125 miles per hour, a number that made it one of the fastest motorcycles of its era. But it wasn't just the top end that impressed, it was how quickly it got there. The power delivery was abrupt, often launching unsuspecting riders into unintended wheelies. Horsepower came in at around 60 horsepower, but it felt like more thanks to the bike's screaming power band and razor-sharp throttle. With a 5-speed gearbox and a weight just under 400 pounds, it was tuned for rapid response. Torque hovered near 42 pound-feet, but like most 2-strokes, it didn't build smoothly. The moment the revs hit the sweet spot, all that torque hit like a hammer. It was thrilling, terrifying, and addictive. The Kawasaki Mach 3 H1 was not a bike for the faint of heart. It was fast, unpredictable, and absolutely unapologetic. Riders didn't just respect it, they survived it. It earned its place in history by being outrageous, and that's exactly why it's still remembered today. Number 1. 1960 Vincent Black Shadow. Before the world had superbikes, it had the Vincent Black Shadow. In an era when most motorcycles struggled to cross the century mark, this British beast broke through barriers like a machine from another dimension. Built in limited numbers and wrapped in mystery, the Black Shadow didn't just chase speed, it defined it. Its heart was a V-twin engine that displaced 998 cubic centimeters. Air-cooled and mounted in a unique unit construction layout, the motor was a marvel of post-war engineering. It was designed not just for performance but for dominance, with every component overbuilt and underhyped. Riders who knew. Top speed reached a staggering 125 miles per hour, and that was in the early 1950s. It remained one of the fastest production motorcycles well into the 1960s, still unmatched by many larger and newer machines. Speedometers on Black Shadows famously read up to 150 miles per hour, and that wasn't just for show. Power output hovered around 55 horsepower, which might not sound earth-shattering today, but in its time, it was unmatched. The power delivery was smooth but forceful, and the bike's long gearing made highway cruising effortless at speeds where others were already redlining. Torque numbers landed close to 50 pound-feet, and it was available low in the rev range. This gave the Black Shadow strong acceleration without the need to constantly chase high RPMs. It didn't rush to speed, it surged. The Vincent Black Shadow was more than just fast. It was dark, elegant, and unapologetically advanced. Every inch of it told a story of ambition and engineering genius. Decades later, it still stands as a monument to what happens when performance meets obsession. Whether they were built for glory or barely held together at full throttle, these 18 bikes all had one thing in common. They were fast, sometimes dangerously so. Got one we missed? Or a favorite that still gives you goosebumps? Let us know in the comments, give this video a like, and hit subscribe for more motorcycle content.